So what I was thinking about this and actually spoke to Clarky, he gave me the idea of what to do. But then when I was thinking about it a little bit more, I was like, I think over the last maybe, I don't know, 3 months or 6 months, we've had a lot of like theory thrown at us. And like, you should do stuff like this, you should do stuff like that, here's ideas for this and that and the other. What I really want to encourage from today is some ideas that you'll actually action and make happen. I'm not saying that you're not making other stuff happen, but there's a lot of information coming at us. Now what I want to do is just try and sum it up a little bit, and actually this will form part of your January meetings with Carmen and Jamie as well. It's not a test, it's just because I think it's quite important. So, the topic for today is winning in 2020. I think one of the most important things when I look forward, you might have done this already, when I look forward to 2020 is actually look back at 2019 and also what this whole thing of winning, success means to you, because it means something completely different to every single one of us. There, what Brian was talking about, what Boz talks about happiness, the whole thing means something different. So what I encourage you to do, and it's all pretty much homework, is define for you really what success is in any different area that you want. Take a piece of paper and write it down. What does success to me mean in fitness? Does it mean to be able to wake up every morning without any pain? Does it mean to be able to compete this weekend in CrossFit? Does it mean to win an OCR race? At the end of the year, it's a really good idea and it's a good time to actually put this stuff in context. Do exactly the same for your family. What does success mean for me on a family level? Not that we've all got kids and stuff, but we've all got family. And what does that mean to us? What does it mean on a work level? What does it mean financially? How are these two interrelated? And then you could have all different other areas. To me, success, like how good was 2019? There could be something that isn't actually in here. So start to write it down and start to link activities with these different things. Look at 2019 and spend some time in the next few weeks in reflection. Sit down with a piece of paper in a coffee shop, however many double espressos you want, and think about 2019. This is something that someone taught me when I was playing rugby. He said there's 3 types of people. There's people that watch things happen, there's people that make things happen, and then there's people that ask what the fuck happened. And it's kind of an interesting time of year because you could go through and you could put yourself into these different categories if you wanted to. I'm just trying to give you some tools. So you could say, like, what did I watch happen in 2019 that maybe I could have got involved in or maybe I liked a little bit, and you just make a note of it. What did I actually make happen? You've all made some good stuff happen in 2019. In all of these categories, guys. It's not just about the work that you're doing here, it's in every single category. You know, we're bringing up families, like what was the progress in that in 2019? And also, you might be in a position where you're literally asking yourself, well, what the fuck really happened in 2019? Like, it just came and it just went, and you need to break it down a little bit. Think as well about stuff that, what made you, and this links back a little bit to what Boz was talking about, like what made you smile in 2019? What actually brought you happiness? I'm sure after her talk, a lot of people went back and said, okay, yeah, that's actually what makes me happy. How are we doing? Like, how much of that did you do in 2019? And then obviously we take it forward into 2020 as well. What gave you satisfaction? What was also bad? What didn't really go well? What made you feel bad? And then I bring all this down and I would ask why on sort of in 3 or 4 different levels. Just keep on asking yourself why. Why did it make me happy? Why did it give me satisfaction? Why did it make me feel bad? Or why was it bad? Why was that certain scenario bad? So you actually create this picture. And then what you've got at the end is you've got a pretty good summary that you could stand up in 3 or 4 minutes and tell us, these are just ideas again, what you learned, what you liked, what you loathed, and what you loved from 2019. Because then you've learned from your mistakes and you can take action against it. This is actually something that I learned this morning. where this chick, she was talking about American politics, and the fact of Obama and Trump over-promising and under-delivering, and she called it the say-do gap. So what did you say you were going to do at the start of 2019, and what did you actually do, and are you falling short? How big is this gap? It's on a Freakonomics podcast, and they're talking about American state security. God knows. But super interesting when I thought about it is that we say that we're going to do a lot, and actually what we did in this year could be miles apart. And there could be a really legitimate reason for it. Because if you do this exercise in a coffee shop and you have enough coffee, you'll probably have loads of shit that you say you're going to do, and then you realize that you don't have all that coffee the whole time, and it doesn't make the time last longer, and you don't have time to do everything you say you're going to do. So your say-do gap could actually be flipping massive. That's a positive reflection as well for 2019. And maybe you need to do less in 2020. It's very, very likely for a lot of people. So then I was like, okay, how do we create the perfect year for you? And I broke it down into 3 different categories. How are you going to market yourself in 2020? How are you going to challenge yourself in 2020? And then how are you going to reward yourself? You could start here if you want, if that motivates you. I don't think there's any right or wrong way. You could start by, thinking about what great vacations you want to have in 2020. And then you might figure out actually what you need to make that happen. So I don't think there's any order of this stuff. I just think it's something you should be thinking about. We'll go through them from this side. We've spoken a lot about marketing recently. Obviously, I think Brian's talk had a big impact on a lot of people. And the next few weeks is probably a good time, if you haven't already, to actually formalize what platforms you want to use to market yourself next year. A good example, Lloyd started writing some articles, putting them on a platform called Medium. LinkedIn is a platform that we've actually spoken about quite a lot. I think I spoke about with Laura as well, that in the fitness industry, no one's really using. What type of people are generally on LinkedIn? Businessmen. Lots of CEOs that you can have direct access to. They're probably in your target market. That could be something. You could be super happy with what you're doing on Instagram. There's all different ways to figure it out, yeah? So think about what platforms. Also, and you've probably done this, I've seen definitely some difference in a couple of people's Instagrams over the last few weeks since Brian talked to us, what content you're going to put out. If you have time over the next few weeks, start to prepare it. Start to categorize what you're going to look for. Frequency is important as well. Again, don't create too much of a gap here. Don't think that, if I use Lloyd as an example again, you're going to make these mobility videos and have them every single week if you don't have time to do that. So think about the frequency. I would encourage you here on a marketing side to look at things in time blocks. So you might say, okay, I'm going to look at Jan, Feb, March, or I'm just going to look at Jan. I want to develop my personal training business. Jan's a really good time, so I need to be on this platform with this content and this frequency for Jan. And then I might calm down a little bit because I'll be fucking full. And I won't need a load more clients at that point. So you could have a plan that's just for Jan, and then you could review it. Think about how you measure it as well. We spoke about this a lot, for marketing ourselves, we're putting a lot of stuff out there. The measure has to be how many people, like if I'm a coach, the measure is how many people I'm training. That's, honestly, if I didn't have this business, if I worked behind a desk as a computer engineer, I wouldn't even have Instagram. But we do stuff on Instagram because we get good clients from it. So for me, that's a measure, yeah? And it gives us results. So just think about it like that. I don't think you need to have a strategy. I don't think it's safe to have a marketing strategy through social media, through different platforms for the whole of 2020. I think we should be looking on a little bit shorter time blocks. Try different things, be consistent, and see how it works. How are you going to challenge yourself in 2020? And I'd split this into 3 different areas that I think you should be thinking about. What are you going to do physically? How are you going to challenge yourself mentally? And maybe a little bit trickier to figure out how you're going to challenge yourself emotionally in 2020. Not sure, that could probably be a whole other discussion somehow. But obviously, you're all quite active, so I presume that some of you have physical goals already written down. What does that look like? Does it link into here? I think it probably does. We know it, we speak about it a lot. There's nothing better than just putting out on social media, next year I'm gonna do whatever it is. If you don't know what they are, that's fine. But it's cool to sort of get something. How are you gonna challenge yourself mentally? Are you gonna read more, upskill yourself in that area to learn more about stuff here that actually helps you build your business? Or are you gonna do stuff, what happens here? How are you gonna challenge yourself mentally to have a better family life? Are you going to study something along those lines? I don't know, just give some different ideas. Emotionally, it's, as I say, it's harder to speak about. And then we sort of think about stuff and you break it down, what you're going to do daily, weekly, monthly, and then as one-offs. For you guys, it's quite simple because you know, and you've been doing it for years, that you train 5 days a week, you take one rest day here, you take one rest day there. That's almost a given on your physical side. But mentally as well. Do you want to study something? Is there a commitment to reading every month? Does it happen as a one-off? Is the competition a one-off? You can sort of put it all into place like that. Does that make sense? Reward, I think, is super important. Missed off Cheesecake Factory on the end, but vacation, I think it's super important. You guys know it because you work incredibly hard. I know that you don't work 8 or 9 hours a day, but there's pretty much everyone does something at least for an hour, 7 days a week. So I think it's super important that we plan this downtime so that you feel like you get a break, that you feel like you get recharged, and that you feel like you have some fun. Financial goals also super important. And I think it's something that we need to continue to be a little bit open about because there's no point when you have the meetings with these guys that they're slamming you, more PT, more PT, more PT, and you're like, well, doesn't matter for me. Yeah, so you need to kind of think, but at the same time, you might have really big financial goals for 2020. And there might be a way that we can support them as well. I think some time, definitely on vacation, and when you do reward yourself, is a good time for a little bit more reflection as well. So it sort of goes back to this. This doesn't have to be done on an annual basis. It can be done when you've done something here, how did it go? And you actually reflect on it so that it's not just by mistake that good things happen. I think when you are rewarding yourself, you're almost closing a certain chapter, and that's a good time to think about new ideas and to reset as well. So there's sort of defined lines. If we go back to sort of the example I used here, you're going to market yourself to get new clients in January. Get to the end of January, I've got all my clients, I'm going to have a break or whatever, or I feel great because I've got good financial reward for it. Reflect upon it, reset, what do we do next? How do I maintain these guys? Bringing that a little bit all together, again, and that's why I don't want to speak for too long, but you pretty much got now, I think, a lot of tools from all the coach to coach that we've done this year, from everything, and this is almost leading me to maybe we change the format slightly of this session going into next year, and maybe we actually share real experiences in shorter segments. So, you know, we'll go through these Jan meetings and then the following Monday, 3 of us stand up and say, this is what I actually did in the last week and this is what I got from it. Yeah? You've got to make it happen. You can connect with Brian, you can connect with me, you can connect with each other, speak to Boz about happiness, but end of the day, what you define up here, you know, speak to Rob, Ben and Minal about starting a family. These kind of different things, not yet. It's not all, don't get me wrong as well, it's not all just financially and work. We obviously care that on your fitness level, there's happiness as well. Yeah, so there's opportunity to use each other. I think it's super important that you close 2019, that you understand what was good. I think there's a lot to be happy about for you as individuals and for us as a company. I think we've come a long way in 2019. We sort of closed that off and we understand what happened over here, but we really have a solid plan for 2020. So in those Jan meetings, use whatever you want. There's no form, there's no nothing. You guys have to come and you have to say, we want to see it with Boz and Clarky from a coaching side. If you don't want to speak to them about more emotional stuff, but you want to speak to me, not that great, but yeah, we could do that. But if there are certain things like the plan, they should. Yeah. Read it. I just would love that you all have a crack at it and you're in a position that you're like, yeah, I've had a really good think about 2019. This is what I really want. And even if you just come and go, this is what I think I want for 2020, but this is what I'm going to do in January, and then I'm going to see how it goes, that's absolutely perfect. Don't worry about what's happening in September, October, November, December. If you feel, like a lot of people can't focus that far. And if you feel like it's all just a bit too much, then just relax. It's cool. But just spend some time over the holidays to go through it. Use this format. Use any amount of books. There's books downstairs. Talk to each other. Talk to me. Whatever you want to do, that you actually come in the first week of Jan and you've actually got a nice playbook, at least for the first month. Any questions?